Emily Carter did not plan to test her marriage the week before her husband turned 42. It happened in a quiet moment, the kind that feels small but changes everything. She was standing in the kitchen of their home in Portland, Oregon, staring at the calendar taped to the fridge. March 14th, Daniel's birthday. The date felt heavier this year, not because of his age, not because of money, but because of something she could not touch or name. The house was clean. The kids were asleep upstairs. The dishwasher hummed softly. Everything looked normal. But normal had started to feel dangerous. Daniel Carter had always been steady. When they met in Chicago 15 years earlier, he was the young architect with big dreams and kind eyes. He used to look at her like she was the most exciting thing in the room. Then, they stayed up late talking about travel, art, and the houses he wanted to design someday. They danced in their tiny apartment kitchen with no music. They ordered cheap pizza and felt rich anyway. Now they lived in a comfortable house in Oregon. 2 kids, good schools, stable jobs. It's the life they once prayed for. So why did it feel like something was slipping? Daniel still kissed her goodbye every morning. He still asked about her day. But lately his smile seemed tired. He worked longer, hours. When he came home, he sometimes stared at his phone, scrolling without really seeing it. At night, he fell asleep quickly, turning his back gently, not cold, but distant. Emily tried not to overthink it. She told herself this was what marriage looked like after years together: routine, responsibility, less fireworks. Life. My foundation. But one night, as she passed the hallway mirror, she caught her reflection and froze. She looked older, not in a bad way, just different. Her hair was usually tied back. Her clothes were practical. She could not remember the last time she wore the red dress Daniel once said made her look dangerous. She wondered when she stopped trying. The thought followed her for days. A week before his birthday, she noticed Daniel sitting alone at the dining table after dinner. The kids were upstairs arguing over homework. She watched him from the doorway. He wasn't smiling. He wasn't sad either. Just quiet, lost in thought. "Everything okay?" she asked. He looked up quickly and smiled. "Yeah, just tired." Tired, that word again. She nodded and walked away. But something in her chest tightened. Later that night, when Daniel fell asleep, Emily stayed awake. She scrolled through her phone without purpose, looking at social media posts of happy couples, vacation photos, anniversary surprises. She felt foolish for comparing. She knew those images were curated. Still, a small voice whispered, "What if he wants more?" And an advertisement appeared between posts. Professional companion services, elegant, discreet, meaningful evenings. She almost scrolled past it, but she didn't. She tapped. The website was simple and tasteful. It described companions trained in conversation, social presence, and emotional intelligence. They attended events, dinners, and private gatherings. No inappropriate promises, just presence, charm, attention. Her heart began to race. She closed the page. Then reopened it. The idea sounded crazy, dramatic, risky. But another thought grew stronger. What if Daniel just needs to feel seen again? Not because he wanted someone else, but because maybe he no longer felt admired. And what if he chose her anyway? That night, she barely slept. The next morning, she told herself to forget it. But the idea had already taken root. It followed her while she packed lunches, while she drove the kids to school, while she folded laundry. She imagined Daniel sitting across from a confident woman. A woman who listened closely, who laughed at his stories, who leaned in when he spoke. Would he lean back? Would he smile differently? Would he forget about her? Or would he remember what mattered? 3 days later, Emily filled out the contact form. Her hands shook as she typed. She expected someone flashy or cold to respond. Instead, she received a calm email from Victoria Blake, a Seattle-based professional who specialized in social evenings and private events. Her tone was polite and steady. They arranged to meet at a quiet cafe near the river. Emily almost canceled twice. But she DI'd in single quotes. Victoria arrived exactly on time. She was in her early 40s, elegant without trying too hard. Navy dress, simple gold necklace, confident posture. Her presence filled the space in a subtle way. Emily suddenly felt small. "Mrs. Carter?" Victoria asked gently. "Yes," Emily replied, her voice thinner than she expected. They ordered coffee. Emily got tea instead. Her stomach was too tight. "For caffeine, I want to be clear," Victoria said calmly once they sat. "I provide conversation, charm, and attention. I do not cross personal boundaries. Every situation is respectful." Emily nodded. "I don't want anything inappropriate." "Then why are you here?" Victoria asked softly. The directness caught her off guard. "I think my husband feels invisible," Emily said quickly. "Or maybe I do. I just need to know if he would choose me." Victoria studied her with sharp but kind eyes. "You're not testing his loyalty. You're testing your fear." The words hit hard. Emily looked down at her hands. Maybe. They discussed details. The dinner would be at a rooftop restaurant downtown for Daniel's birthday. Emily would tell him she had arranged a surprise and would join later. Victoria would be seated first, presented as a booking mistake. Nothing dramatic, it's just conversation. As Emily left the cafe, her heart pounded louder than when she arrived. The plan felt real now, that weekend. She found herself watching Daniel more closely. The way he laughed with the kids, the way he rubbed his neck when stressed, the way he reached for her hand absent-mindedly while watching television. Maybe she was wrong. Maybe she was about to ruin something that wasn't broken, but fear can be louder than logic. On the morning of his birthday, Emily woke before sunrise. She stood at the bathroom mirror and brushed her hair slowly. She chose a soft blue dress she hadn't worn in years. Daniel noticed. "You look nice," said, smiling warmly. The compliment felt genuine. It almost made her cancel everything. Instead, she kissed his cheek. "I have something planned tonight." His eyes lit up with curiosity. "Now I'm nervous." She forced a playful smile. The day passed quickly. She kept busy with work and errands, trying not to think about 7 o'clock at 6. Daniel left for the restaurant. He wore the gray blazer she loved. He looked handsome in a quiet, familiar way. "Don't be late," he teased. "I won't." She promised. After he drove away, Emily sat in her car for 5 minutes, gripping the steering wheel. This was insane. But she started the engine. Anyway, the restaurant was glowing with soft lights and city views. She arrived early and spotted Victoria seated near the window. Poised and calm, Emily took a seat at the bar where she could see them but remain unnoticed. At 7 sharp, Daniel walked in. He looked around, confused at first. The host led him to the table. Victoria smiled politely as he approached. There was a brief moment of awkward explanation. A booking error. Shared table until it was resolved. Daniel hesitated but remained courteous. Emily's heart beat so loudly she felt dizzy. They began to talk. At first it was polite. Conversation, names, jobs, backgrounds, Victoria asked. About his work. He spoke about architecture with quiet passion. His eyes brightened as he described a sustainable housing project. It's why he was designing. And Emily had not seen that spark in weeks. Victoria leaned in slightly. She listened closely, nodding at the right moments. Daniel smiled more. The sight hurt more than she expected. Then Victoria laughed softly at something he said and briefly touched his hand. The world seemed to stop. Daniel froze Emily's breath. Caught in her throat, he looked at the hand on his. Then he gently pulled away. "My wife is coming," he said calmly. Victoria tilted her head. "You love her." He looked out at the skyline before answering. "I do," he said quietly. Emily felt tears blur her vision. Victoria's voice remained smooth. "You seem unsure." Daniel exhaled slowly. "I'm not unsure about loving her. I'm unsure if she still feels the same." Emily's chest tightened. He continued, unaware she was close enough to hear every word. We used to talk about everything, he said. Now we talk about schedules, bills, groceries. I don't blame her. Life gets busy. Victoria studied him carefully. And if someone else admired you? He didn't answer immediately. The silence stretched between them. Emily's hands trembled against the bar counter for one fragile second. She feared everything she loved might shatter, and Daniel finally opened his mouth to speak. Daniel looked at the woman across from him, then down at the city lights far below the rooftop glass. The question hung between them like a thin wire. If someone else admired you, he gave a small, honest smile. It would feel good, he admitted. Anyone would like that. But it wouldn't fix what's missing. Victoria did not move. And what is missing? He rested his elbows lightly on the table. Connection, not attention. Real connection. Emily's heart pounded so hard she thought she might faint. She gripped the edge of the bar stool and leaned slightly closer, afraid to miss a single word. Daniel continued, his voice steady. But softer now. My wife and I used to talk about everything. We had plans, jokes, secrets. Lately, we're just tired. We pass each other like coworkers. Victoria watched him carefully. Do you think she stopped loving you? He shook, his head right away. No, Emily loves deeply. That's who she is. He paused, choosing his next words with care. I just think we both got lost in responsibility. Emily felt tears slide down her cheeks. Victoria leaned back slightly. You don't sound like a man looking for someone new. I'm not, Daniel said without hesitation. A man who misses his wife. Those words landed like a warm shock. Victoria tilted her head, testing gently. And if your wife never changed? If things stayed quiet and routine? Daniel looked at his wedding ring. He turned it slowly with his thumb, thinking, Then I'd change, he said. I'd fight for us. I'd remind her. I'd try harder. Emily pressed her hand against her mouth to hold back a sob. Victoria studied him for a long second, then asked one last question. If I told you I find you interesting right now, would you consider seeing me again? Daniel met her eyes directly. There was kindness there, but no hunger. You seem like a wonderful person, he said politely, but I don't want to start something that pulls me away from my marriage. Victoria did not smile this time. She nodded once, as if confirming something she already knew. Daniel leaned back in his chair and glanced toward the entrance again. My wife planned tonight, he said. She's been nervous all week. I don't know what she's up to, but she's trying. Can feel it. Emily could not hide any more. She stood up from the bar. Her legs felt weak, but she forced them to move. Each step toward the table felt heavy and fast at the same time. Daniel looked up first. His eyes widened in surprise. Emily. Victoria stood gracefully and stepped aside. I believe my part of the evening is complete, she said softly. Daniel looked between them, confusion forming slowly. He looked at Victoria, then at Emily's tear-filled eyes. You know each other? He asked. Emily swallowed. Her voice trembled. I hired her. The noise of the restaurant faded into nothing. Daniel blinked. You? What? Victoria spoke calmly. Mrs. Carter requested a social interaction to observe certain things. Nothing inappropriate occurred. Daniel's gaze returned to Emily. There was no anger in his face, just shock and hurt. Why? Emily's composure broke. Because I thought I was losing you. The words came out fast now. I thought you were bored. I thought you wanted someone more exciting. I thought maybe if I saw you choose me over someone else, I would feel safe again. Daniel stood up slowly. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't step back. He simply looked at her as if seeing her clearly for the first time in months. You think I need someone else? He asked quietly. I don't know what you need anymore. She? admitted. "We don't talk like we used to. You're always tired. Feel invisible." Daniel exhaled, running a hand through his hair. "Emily, I've been scared too." She looked up at him, surprised. "Scared of what?" "That I became ordinary to you," he said. "You used to look at me like I was your hero. Now I feel like the guy who fixes the sink and pays the mortgage." Emily shook her head immediately. "You are not ordinary." He gave a soft, almost sad smile. "Neither are you." Victoria picked up her purse quietly. "I'll leave." "You too," she said with dignity. "This conversation belongs to you." Neither of them stopped her. When she walked away, the air between Emily and Daniel felt exposed and fragile. Daniel sat back down and gestured for her to sit too. She did, still trembling. "You could have just asked me," he said gently. "I was afraid of the answer." He leaned forward. "You think I would throw away 15 years because someone laughs at my stories?" "I saw you smiling," she whispered. "I was being polite," he replied. "And maybe I liked the attention for a second. I'm human. But I was waiting. For you the whole time." Her tears flowed freely now. "I thought you were drifting." "I was," he admitted. "But not away from you. Away from us. From how we used to be." Silence settled, but this time it felt honest, not cold. Daniel reached across the table and took her hand. "Do you know what I was thinking when she asked if I would see her again?" Emily shook her head. "I was thinking about you in that tiny Chicago kitchen," he said, barefoot, laughing, spinning around like we had the whole world. She let out a shaky laugh through tears. "We were so broke." "And so happy," he replied. The waiter approached carefully, unsure whether to interrupt. Daniel waved him off politely. This moment mattered more than dinner. "I don't want admiration from a stranger," Daniel continued. "I want connection with my wife." Emily squeezed his hand. "I forgot how to show you that. We both did," he said. She looked down, ashamed. "Hiring her was stupid." "It was desperate," he corrected softly. "But it tells me something." "What?" "That you still care enough to fight." She looked up at him slowly. "You're not angry?" "I'm hurt that you doubted me," he admitted. "But I'm more sad that you felt alone enough to do this." That truth hit harder than anger would have. She moved her chair closer. "I don't want to feel like roommates." "Then let's stop acting like roommates," he replied. They sat there, hands locked, as the city lights flickered below. The tension that once felt sharp now felt like something melting. "I miss you," Emily said. "I'm right here," Daniel answered. "No," she insisted gently. "I miss how we used to talk. It's how we used to look at each other." He nodded. "Then let's start again." "How?" she asked. "By being honest," he said. "Right now. No tests, no games." She took a deep breath. "Sometimes I feel less attractive than I used to." Daniel's eyebrows lifted in surprise. "Emily, I notice you every day. You don't say it?" "I thought you knew." "I don't," she admitted. He moved his chair even closer and brushed a tear from her cheek. "You're still the woman I fell in love with. Maybe more. You've carried our children. You hold this family together. It's beautiful." Her lips trembled. "Then why do I feel like you don't see me?" "It's because I stopped showing." "You," he said simply. The honesty felt raw but clean. They talked for nearly an hour. No distractions, no filters. They spoke about stress, exhaustion, parenting, aging, fear. Things they had avoided because life felt too busy. Daniel admitted he sometimes felt pressure to be strong all the time. Emily admitted she felt pressure to stay perfect. Both pressures had built silent walls. When they finally stood up to leave, something had shifted. Not magically, not perfectly, but clearly. Outside, the Oregon night air was cool. The city hummed quietly around them. Daniel took her hand as they walked toward the parking garage. Not out of habit, out of intention. "I can't believe you hired someone," he said with a small shake. Of his head, she winced. I know. He squeezed her hand. Next time, just hire me for dinner. She laughed through tears. Deal. They reached the car, but neither rushed to get in. Daniel turned toward her fully. You don't have to compete with anyone. I wasn't competing, she said softly. I was scared. He pulled her into his arms. The hug was firm and grounding. Familiar but renewed. I'm already yours, he whispered. She rested her forehead against his chest. And I'm already yours. For the first time in months, the fear loosened its grip. They were not perfect. They were. Not young and reckless anymore. But they were still choosing each other. And this time, they chose with open eyes.